And we're live. This is Oscar and Mimi, and welcome to 40 Fit Food.
We are here every Tuesday at 7:45-ish to give you tips and tricks and advice and just some information so that you can keep doing Kung Fu or Tai Chi well after 40, or at any age, really.
Any age. This is episode 59. We were calling it Spine-tastic.
Spine-tastic.
We want to get that spine healthy, buttery, flowy. If you're doing Tai Chi, right? Yeah, there's movements that come from the hip, and most movements start from the hip. But if this is all locked up, you're not going to get that beautiful movement going.
Right.
Not to mention that it's just not healthy to have a spine that's completely locked up. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is being able to globally flex and extend your spine. Let's go to the floor. Okay, so in yoga they call it cat-cow. We are always talking about some joint mobility concepts and words of controlled articular rotations, CARs, so basically joint circles. But for the spine, we want to be able to flex and extend the spine. So what that means is if you start off on your hands and knees, let's see if we get the right angle here. Yeah, right angle. I'll come up behind you. Is Mimi should be able to completely flex the spine, like driving that belly button into the spine and trying to get a nice rounded back. And this is a nice globally flexed spine. And the opposite is completely extending the spine, which this she has even better extension and flexion, a really good extension of the spine.
Yeah.
So you see.
Actually, you have a better flexion. Better
I
extension.
think that goes into me spending a lot of time with a rounded back. But that's the first step is, can you globally flex and extend the spine? And if you try this and you don't get that nice kind of dome shape in when it's flexed, or this nice kind of almost like U shape on the reverse, then that is a good signal that you need a lot of work here. If you get a lot of back pain, low back pain, upper back pain, this is also a sign that maybe things aren't moving the right way.
Upper back meaning?
Upper back is this area, lower back this area. You can divide it, this is just for the sake of keeping it simple, right around where the ribs end. Below that to your tailbone is your lower back, and above that is your upper back, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a good way to do it. Yeah. So any questions on the cat-cow part?
No, I mean, right now I think we're going to break down the whole, the best way to try to activate each spine. We're going to go through that. I think for general, if that's already a challenge, let's just give them the breathing tip on that, and so that way they can go into that breathing.
Okay, so if I were to coach someone who doesn't do this at all, is I would just say, take a big breath in, and now exhale, push the ground away, and drive your belly button into your spine. So in the flex position is a big exhale, and then as you're reversing it, inhale, and then instead of pushing the ground away, imagine trying to drag your palms towards your knees, and you'll kind of engage these lats and your scaps, your shoulder blades will stay down to then allow you to get some good extension. When you should be pushing and pulling, I think it's right around when the spine is moving around that area of the shoulder blades. So if we're reversing this motion, she starts extending right around this. When this is moving, I like for her to think of pulling her hands away. And the same thing when this part right here is moving, which is I want to see push the ground away. Exhale when you flex, like the dome shaped, and then inhale when you extend. That's that kind of U shape. Cool.
I still like to say angry cat and happy dog.
Yeah, some people say cat-cow. You know what? I got used to cat-cow because it's one syllable, cat-cow. But angry,
just more descriptive.
Yeah, angry cat makes sense. Happy dog also makes sense. I think go with whatever terminology you want.
Maybe because I'm more of an angry cat.
Yeah. I will just leave it at that. Okay, and so so that's the first part, is make sure that you're able to flex and extend your spine, right? If you have, real quick, and this is in all of our videos, if you have any pain in the movement, you should still do it right before you have any pain.
Stop at the pain.
Yeah, so there's some people, and we'll just have me do it one more time, is when you fully flex, sometimes flexing the spine, right at the end, if you're having some issues, you may push too hard. You're like, I feel pain right there. Just stop right before. And then for a lot of people with low back pain, extending and they keep trying to get a lot more extension than they're ready for, they may feel pain in the low back. Just remember, it doesn't mean don't do it, just don't extend or flex as much as or into the pain part, right?
Right,
Stop
because
right
there's still
before.
benefit in just even doing the breathing
Absolutely.
and doing some of the limited motion.
The best thing for your body to do is to move. So if you are in pain, number one step, remove the painful stimulus. So whatever you're doing that's causing pain, stop that, right? That's kind of common sense. And then number two, move as much as possible that's pain-free. As much pain-free movement as you can, as often as you can. Okay, so let's break this down now to the next steps, which is for most joints, quick tangent, for most joints, we want to be able to rotate first and then move them linearly, which is up and down, except the spine. The spine, we want to be able to flex and extend, move it linearly first before adding rotation. Just remember that if you can't flex and extend the spine, and then but you try to add rotation, the order is wrong. Get the flexion and extension first. Cool? All right, now we're going to break this down. So the test is can you flex and extend, but the real way that you know that your spine is healthy is can you segmentally move each vertebrae as if it was an independent hinge. So if you were to almost think of it like multiple hinges on a door, but each hinge was able to move independently as opposed to just one.
Like a wave.
Like a wave. So this is like a spinal
Spinal
wave. Yeah, exactly. Like a spinal wave. So let's just start. I think it's easier to start completely flexed here. And if you have a partner, this is where they're going to walk down your spine. So I'm going to have Mimi flex as much as she can. And then I'm going to find kind of around the tailbone and put my finger here. And then when she feels my finger is when I want that vertebrae to move. So I am just walking down and she's going and trying to extend, move her spine away from my finger as I walk up the spine. Okay? And kind of what's happening, and I'll tell you with Mimi, is some vertebrae are moving in sections, and some vertebrae are moving independently. The more that you do it, the more that you'll be able to kind of gain control over it. And then I'm going to walk backwards the other way. So I want you to flex into my finger here, and start flexing into my finger here. Right, and I'm just walking down her spine and trying to touch each vertebrae and get her to start understanding that the spine should be able to segmentally move one vertebrae at a time. This is one way to do it if you've got a partner, awesome. If you don't have a partner, then some cues like flexing, so I'll just demonstrate real quick. If I'm flexing, is this thing, okay, right around the area of my pant line, I want that to start spilling towards the floor. Then I want the area of around my belly button to spill towards the floor. Then the ribs, then my chest, and then finally going into extension. And then the same cues that we said start spilling towards the floor, imagine them being pulled up to the ceiling. That's another way you have to do it independently. The other thing to remember is that if you're not used to doing this, try to get sections of your spine to move as opposed to each vertebrae moving. So you're like, I don't feel anything. That's okay. A not super high quality movement is better than no movement at all.
Yes. And then did we explain like why it's so important that you should have that control?
Yeah, so the reason you should have control like that is something even as simple as like squatting, right? Like for what a lot of people have problems is when they squat, they tuck their tail under, or let's say they're going to do a toe touch for like in Kung Fu, they don't know how to flex the spine. Things get pulled that shouldn't be getting pulled. When it comes to things like kicking, if you're not able to understand, okay, I'm going to keep my low back under control as my hips move, that's a negative consequence will happen.
Right, so pretty much it's a really great preventative tool for injury.
Absolutely.
And being able to not only just do the movements better, like kicking and stance work or anything that requires your spine, which is pretty much quite a bit of things, right?
Yeah.
In Kung Fu and Tai Chi. But basically it also will help you be able to kind of prevent future injuries.
Right.
Will it also kind of maybe show us where there's something that's kind of potential so we can be like, oh.
Yeah, so this is things that I've noticed. If a client comes in and says, oh man, I have low back pain, they have no disassociation of that vertebrae, of like the low back, of the lumbar. It just all moves as one. They cannot independently control it. if you can't control it independently, it's really hard for all of it to work together. It's just like, it's just not as efficient as it could be. And in the same way that when we talk about your joints, like your shoulder joint is a good example, if you can't take that shoulder joint through its full range of motion, then you don't have control over that. If you don't have control over that, when you put a demand on it, you're leading it to injury. Right. The spine works the same way. It's your joint. So if you don't have control over your spine, this is why we have a lot of back pain. The other option is, and I'll just have you kind of go back onto hands and knees, is you can just separate the upper and the lower back. So if I have Mimi sit her butt back onto her heels, but keep her palms on the floor, this is serves as a way to block the low back, so that then if she just focuses on that, still that cat, cow, or angry cat, happy dog, really the movement's going to mainly be coming from that mid and upper back. So you can focus on that. And then if I have her go back to our normal position, but then walk her hands a little forward and have you put your hands together and bring your forehead to the floor, on top of your hands. Then she can lock her upper back and just flex and extend from the low back. You'll still get movement somewhere else, but it's a way to kind of start adding a little bit of separation. So the steps are, step 1, can you flex and extend the whole spine? Then step 2, maybe block, like just do lumbar block and do extension and flexion from the upper back, and then maybe place your head on top of on the floor and think of doing just a low back. And then the next step would be, can you do it one vertebrae at a time, slowly getting each vertebrae to move. That's kind of the steps that I would do. The next thing is we should check for rotation, but that will be for another episode. And we've talked about rotation before. It should really come from that thoracic spine.
Right.
But the really cool thing with something like Wall Lung, especially as we get into the more advanced movements, or this kind of Chen Tai Chi, is you're still getting movement from the hips. Mm-hmm. You're still kind of creating stability here in the center. And then there's all this beautiful fluid movement coming from that area of that thoracic spine, of that mid back. And it leads to healthy shoulders and everything else.
Yeah, and a lot of the students always wonder, well, why doesn't my Kung Fu or my Tai Chi look exactly like Grandmaster Chan's or Master Susie or some of the senior instructors? And there's these subtle differences, which is, I think, spine health, mobility, and everything. And it's not just the experience, but basically, like, some bodies aren't actually capable yet of getting into those positions and doing those movements and like having the control. So these are all really great exercises that will help you gain control over your body so that you can then effectively do your Kung Fu and Tai Chi.
Yeah, so here's what I'd like for you to think about when it comes to spending time to doing all this stuff that we're always talking about mobility here is you
talk about mobility.
You will cut the learning curve for what you really are passionate about. You don't have to be like me and be like, I'm super passionate about joint mobility. But if you're really passionate about Kung Fu and Tai Chi and you're not able to progress or advance in the expression of your movement as well as you'd like to, spending time on the joint mobility will actually cut the learning curve, because what you're doing is you're removing the brakes that you have. Right? You gaining control over your joints is what's going to allow you then to be able to express the movement that you want to express. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so every Tuesday at 7:45.
See if I have any questions.
Please subscribe, tell your friends, and if you have questions, let us know. We've gotten a lot of feedback live, like people coming up and letting us know that they've enjoyed the episode. So please feel free to drop us a line. I'm over here on Instagram as well as Facebook, and also so at Control Your Health.
Control Your Health. You can follow me. Any questions? We're always happy to tackle them for you.
Yeah, so Control Your Health on Facebook or at Sifu Mimi Chan on Facebook and Instagram, 7:45 every Tuesday. See you next week.
And with that, it's dinner time.
Bye.
It's 8:02 p.m.